This is our Meals and Moments series where we go through all the meals that I'm making for a 2-week span, but it also shows you some of the behind the scenes and things that are going on in my life and with my family. We put this video out every 2 weeks. This is Meals and Moments number 12 for 2026, and we have all of them starting back all the way to January 2025. So if you want to see different ideas on meals that I'm making throughout the seasons, there are plenty of videos here on the channel. If you're just meeting me, my name is Amy Cross, and this is 𝐋𝐈𝐍𝐊𝐒, where I teach you how to save money on groceries. Our grocery budget is $135 per person, and currently there's just my husband and I living here at the house, so our grocery budget is $270 per month. But you will see as we progress through these videos that we are feeding multiple people many times during the month. Now this video will start out the day after I did my grocery shopping for June. That video is already up on the channel, and it was my most expensive grocery shopping trip of the year. But since I put money aside from that $270 that I don't spend, I'm able to have a carryover amount that I put aside that I can use for larger purchases like this. So if you want to check out our June grocery haul, that's already up on the channel. This video goes over the last 2 weeks of June. So we are starting at June 15th. And I just went grocery shopping the day before. For this first dinner, we were actually filming it for a video. I was just kind of making it up as I went along, but it was so good, like so delicious, and I can't wait to make it again. I keep telling my kids, you need to come over and have this because I was so proud of myself. It was like restaurant quality and it was super easy. I just used some fresh tortellinis and then some Italian sausage, and then with some veggies I had, and I made this lemon Parmesan dressing sauce. Oh, it was so good. So good. We have that video up on the channel, so make sure you check it out, and I'm definitely going to be making this again soon. I don't normally buy fresh tortellinis, but I did on this day because we were at Costco when I got a call from one of my kiddos that there was a wildland fire near our house and the power was out at our house or in our town. So even though the fire wasn't near us, it was still affecting our power. So I made sure to grab some of those fresh tortellinis that we could have for dinner. We actually had them the next night instead and just had sandwiches by the time we got home from grocery shopping. But it was an easy meal to do. But this recipe, if you were just using frozen tortellinis, that would be a better budget-friendly option instead of the fresh tortellinis. So you can totally still make it the same way, just with frozen tortellinis. One of my most requested recipes in another meals video was the high protein potato salad. So we also filmed this right there on that first day of this series. And that video is also up on the channel. But instead of putting mayo into the potato salad, I swapped that out with Greek yogurt and cottage cheese that was blended together, and also blended in some egg yolks in with that from the hard-boiled eggs. So I was able to really dramatically increase the protein in the potato salad, which I'm diabetic, so anytime I can add more protein to something, it helps my glucose spikes. The next night, I made the Smokey barbecue chicken skillet. That's just what I've been calling it. I think it was called Monterey chicken at the restaurant that I had it. But last summer, when we were doing house showings at our house, we had went out to eat, and I had got this chicken dish that I just loved. And I made it a couple times last summer, the closest I could make it to it, and then carrying that on to the summer. I love how our recipes seem to be fall and winter. We do certain meals, and then the spring and summertime, we do other meals, so we don't get bored of the same things. This is a great meal to use if you have leftover chicken that was grilled on the barbecue too. Just having that grill marks on it and the barbecue seasoning just really bumps this up a notch. But this night I just made it in a pan on the stove. So the first 3 days of this series were actually our content filming days, where we spend about 12 hours here in the kitchen each day filming all the videos for the next month. So normally those go out between mid-June and mid-July until we have our next content days. So recipe videos are something that I definitely need to have a second set of hands here so they can get all the cool shots that people want to have in the videos. And then after we have content day for a few days, then we have really long computer days. So as we are going through all of those blooper clips and putting them on docs and then adding them to the B-roll, that each video can either take 5 to 10 hours of my time afterwards to make sure that we get these docs and everything downloaded so then we can send it to the editor. So even though I'm like sitting at a desk or table or on the couch working on these, there's still a really long day and days following content days. And then other days, I'm just here all by myself, and you can see that you're really close to the camera. That's because I'm filming this video by myself, and it's close enough that I can turn on and off the camera by myself. So for videos that I mentioned, the grocery haul, the tortellini dinner, the potato salad, those will already be on the channel by the time you see this video. And then that smoky barbecue chicken video, that actually is going to come up on the channel after this video goes up. So we kind of spread things out on the channel so there's not too many recipe videos all together at one point and then not have any for an entire month. So we kind of spread them out over the weeks. The next night, my kiddo called me after work and asked if I wanted to go to this market with her. And so it was really fun. It was at a local winery, and that way we could see the grapes growing and kind of walk through the fields a little bit. And then they had some live music and some vendors there. And while we were there, we decided to get dinner because she wanted the macaroni and cheese from one of the vendor carts that she really likes. And I had already been on the computer for more than 8 hours that day, still had a couple more hours to do after I got back. So not cooking dinner sounded like a great idea. And it was like 98 degrees out. So after we were there for just a little bit, we probably were only there for about a half an hour, then we ended up coming back home. But it was a really great time to get to have car time with her and to have some one-on-one time. Even though I did all the prep work for this, Mike actually cooked it on the Blackstone, so he gets the credit. But we made some yakisoba, which was a great thing for me to kind of prep ahead of time during nap time because I was quite busy during the day with my funnest activity that I get to do. But as the little one was taking a nap, I was able to prep dinner. So by the time they left, Grandma could relax a little bit and make Mike make dinner. But I honestly got a second wind after dinner time and I stayed up way too late. So I knew we were going somewhere the next day and I wanted to pull up Ancestry.com and look at my family tree to kind of refresh my memory on some things. And I realized that I had so many new hits on one line of our family line and I wanted to check them out. And before I knew it, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning and I hadn't went to sleep yet. But we were going to a Scottish fest the next day in our town. I wanted to refresh which Scottish clans were in my family tree. So we actually have our family line all the way back on this side of the family to the 1500s. So it's really cool to be able to see all the different connecting little branches. Right as we were arriving for the Scottish fest, the barbecue smoke like hit me and like it was so hard for me to breathe. I don't even know how to explain it. And so my family made sure I got to where there was cleaner air and had some water so we could stop the coughing fit. But my lungs definitely haven't recovered all the way from having bronchitis earlier this spring. And I still need to have my inhaler in my purse, which I had taken out. So that was just a good reminder that I should just keep it in my purse for a little bit longer. But after my lungs calmed down and I could breathe, then we ended up going around to all the different clan tents. And it's really funny. It's something that my family noticed that Mike always stops and reads every single sign whenever we're at a national park or a museum. And I'm normally the one that's trying to hurry him along. And at this clan festival, I was the one that was reading every single sign and trying to look at all the maps and all the different things. So it definitely, I was right in my element and was having a good time. When the kids were growing up, Mike made pancakes every single Saturday morning. Sometimes it was waffles, but mostly pancakes. And that was just his tradition with the kids. And since we've moved here, they've been asking for us to start this back again. But they want to do it at 8 o'clock in the morning. And so it took a little bit of convincing for me to want company at 8 o'clock in the morning. But we decided to do this on Father's Day weekend. And it was already 80 degrees outside when he was cooking these on the Blackstone. So I am glad we started so early. But it is neat that these traditions that they had as kids, they still want to have as adults and share them with their families. So we love that even if it's really early, that we can do this with them. For dinner that night, I just pulled up that smoky barbecue chicken that I had in the refrigerator. I was planning on putting it in the freezer, but I didn't, and then we had it on some rice. So I am dealing with some shoulder issues, and some days I just can't do very much, and this was one of those days that I didn't care what dinner was as long as it got on the table. On actual Father's Day, after church, we ended up going to a nearby town, and they were having an olden days celebration, which was really fun, and they had a Civil War reenactment that was at a train museum. So we got to see all of the old things. I love being able to walk through the outdoor train museum and show my kiddo what kind of train my grandpa used to drive. Train. Did I say train in this whole thing? On Father's Day after church, we ended up going to this olden days celebration that was in a nearby town. And they were having a Civil War reenactment. And then it was also at an agricultural museum. So it was really fun to be able to go around through the tractor yard and be able to show my family what the tractor looked like that my grandpa used to drive that was probably from the 1950s. They also had a farm wife life barn, which was neat to go through and see all of the different wash machines and home canning items and just all of the different things that I remember some of these things at the farm that I grew up on. And then for the actual Civil War part of this, they had a ton of actors there. I think there was like 100 or 200 actors, and they were divided up into the different camps, and you could go around the camps, and they were set up as like learning museums. And then they had a battle reenactment out in this field with cannons. I am realizing that I like to do these events over here compared to where we used to live because they're not crowded. So it was probably over 15 acres. Mike was guesstimating how big it was. And there's probably only like 200 people there. And that is a way different number than anything over in the Seattle area when there was something that was interesting and there being thousands of people that you're bumping up against. So my little introverted self is totally okay doing these activities when they are not crowded. And for the most part, most of the things that we do are free. So being able to go to a market or to these different events and there not being any parking cost or cost to get in just makes it so you can go for an hour if you want to and it not have to feel like you have to spend all day there. We did get a corn dog while we were there at the olden days celebration, and let me tell you, that was about the best corn dog I've ever had. Normally I say the Puyallup Fair has the best corn dogs and we get those at the state fair, but this corn dog was beer battered and it was so good. So we got to enjoy that sitting under some shade trees. It was in the high 90s, so it was nice to have a little bit of shade. And then that was our fancy lunch for the day. Father's Day was also our 29th wedding anniversary, which we celebrated a couple weeks ago. So we could just focus on celebrating Mike for Father's Day. For dinner, I made a sweet and sour shrimp stir fry, and I don't use many bottled sauces, so I just made my own sauce for this with the ingredients I had, and then I can control the sugar levels and allergens in the sauce. So this recipe we are going to put up probably as a blog post, but it's definitely going to go out in the newsletter too. So make sure that you are subscribed to the newsletter so you get these quick recipes when I make them. Since I already had the veggies prepped and ready to go in jars in my refrigerator in what we call the salad basket, it was really easy to make this with those normal things that I always have, like onions, zucchini, peppers, and I had some sweet peas that I added to this also. We had some fresh pineapple, and then the shrimp only took about 2 to 3 minutes. So the whole meal probably only took me about 15 minutes to make. I did serve this totally over lentils instead of trying to do it in a lentils rice mix. And yes, Mike would much rather have just a rice, but I'm trying to incorporate more lentils into our diet and things that we're eating. By just making the swap to lentils from the rice, it added 18 grams of protein and 16 grams of fiber. So the more that I can keep incorporating lentils instead of rice into meals, the better it is overall for us, but we do still have rice occasionally. These red lentils can get a little mushy if you overcook them. So I have some other lentils in my food storage that I want to start rotating in a little bit more and seeing if I can get a better texture for it. Because he did comment that it was a little too healthy. But the shrimp stir fry part of the dinner was a 10 out of 10. So some of our meals are cookbook worthy. If I was working on a cookbook and trying to get recipes together for that, maybe someday. But other days, I'm just pulling taco meat out of the freezer and we are having tacos for dinner because that is all the energy I have. With this taco meat, when I made it, it already has onion, zucchini, peppers in it. I have some added beans in it. So that already stretches out the servings, but adds more nutrients in just having taco meat. And then we had those on some tortillas that I had in the freezer. We had fermented salsa that I make. We had Greek yogurt to add to that and some shredded cheese and some fresh lettuce. So tacos were really easy and it had everything that you needed right in that tortilla. So I didn't have to really worry about sides. With this, because we had the salsa out, we also pulled out the rest of those lime tortilla chips that I had from the previous grocery shopping trip. This is a housekeeping tip, but I thought it might be helpful to somebody. For the last 2 weeks or so, I have been putting any clean clothes that I folding it and putting it on top of my dresser and really forcing myself to wear some of those shirts that I don't really love that are in my dresser drawers. So if I'm trying to avoid the shirts that are in the dresser for another week and trying to pick out anything but a shirt that I don't like the texture, I don't like the seams on it, the tag is itchy, that is a great way to know that those are the ones that need to go bye-bye. I do have a texture issue when I'm out picking out clothes. I'm feeling every single piece of material when we're in the store, but you just never know if it's going to rub you the wrong way or you just don't like how it fits, or things just change over the years. But I love doing this kind of in the summertime and then again in the wintertime to look through the clothes that I have been wearing and then being able to pull out the ones that I don't. My other thing that I do when I'm putting clothes away is I try to put the new clothes underneath the stack of the clothes that were already in the dresser. So I'm continuing to rotate things into my dresser and out of my dresser, and that way too I know if I'm totally avoiding not wanting to put something on because I just don't like it anymore. I always say I'd rather have less things of things that I really love than an overabundance of things that I can't stand. So that kind of goes through everything in our house, that I just want things that I really love in my home. This is just a habit that we got into because we had a really small house before and a small closet. And so I would just rotate those clothes in tubs that would go at the bottom of the closet when they were off season and then rotate them back up to hanging up or in the drawers. So we've been able to do that. Now in this house, it feels like we have a really large closet, but it's actually Mike's office. And that's where he is working all day long, is in our master closet. We found that it is a great space for him. He doesn't mind being in the closet, but I can't hear him talking on conference calls throughout the house all day. So that is why he is there. The other rooms that were available for him to be on calls were up here right next to the kitchen, and that draining of his voice all day long would have just worn me out. So we like that he is kind of tucked away and I can't hear him. And then when he comes up after work, I'm excited to see him. Breakfast for me lately has been some scrambled eggs and a side of beans. So it's not too fancy, but it fills me up and it keeps my blood sugars level. So that's what I've been eating for breakfast on most days with my coffee. We were able to go out to the cherry orchards and get cherries straight from the bins that were getting ready to go to customs and all around the world. So it's really fun that we have some family connections that we can get things right from the farm, and we were able to bring those home and to wash them, and they're in the refrigerator. And I have been debating about making some more cherry barbecue sauce. I made it a couple years ago. We have that recipe on the blog and it's really good. So I just have to see how much my shoulder is going to let me do, because getting the pits out of those cherries can be kind of the pits sometimes. But I do normally use like a glass root beer or beer bottle and a straw, and you can push the pits through. And if I did get them pitted, I would be able to freeze them, and then I can wait a couple months to then make the barbecue sauce. So we'll kind of see how the next couple weeks go. At this shoulder thing that's going on, some days it can be really bad, and then other days I'm having a pretty good day. On this day, I had a little helper that was helping me make some pizzas, and as we were shredding the cheese, they were standing there eating more of the cheese and the ham and the pineapple than they actually ate on the pizzas once they were done, but they were still the same ingredients, and I don't care if that's how they ended up eating their lunch, but we did have fun making pizzas together. And this night was a night that I had zero, zero bits of effort into dinner, and I was just having a really hard day. So if I move this arm just right, I get searing pain right here, and it's really bad. It's really intense, and it can just really wear me out. So this night, I was just laying on the couch. Mike ended up making some chicken wraps with the tortillas, some chicken strips. We had lettuce, cheese, cucumbers on that, and then I had some honey mustard dressing, also from a recipe that is in the refrigerator that we had on there because I was out of Caesar. So normally we had that with Caesar dressing, but really just to get a meal in me, and that was very little effort. And I am finding that it is easier for me to eat a wrap when this arm is really bothering me because I can do it one-handed. Mike's been working in this back room upstairs, so we can turn that into a studio room at some point, and that way I can have all the cameras and lights set up, and I could just go to my desk and turn everything on to be able to film videos. If I have to have shoulder surgery, there will be many more videos like that. So we want to make sure that we have things ready to go. And it will be a great room to store all of the tripods and camera equipment and even this cart that I stand at in the kitchen. So it'll be a room for just YouTube supplies. But a couple weeks ago, he had ripped off a bunch of the sheetrock and fixed the wires in there because it's an 80-year-old house. So he finally has the sheetrock all back up on the walls, and he's been doing the texturing and sanding. So we are getting close to being able to paint the room. We just filmed a garden update video and put an irrigation system into our raised bed. And just in a week's difference, I'll show you the before the irrigation system went in and how big, and just a week later how much my pumpkins and squash have grown. So I'm so excited that they are starting to grow over the edges, and I can't wait for that to be a little pumpkin magical area back there. And then on Saturday morning, we did another 8 a.m. pancake morning. Now it does get hot here pretty quickly, and so if we are going to want to do this outside, we do have to do it early. I do agree with them on this, but I did definitely take a nap after we ended up going to the park and playing for a while. But as we were having pancakes and bacon on this day, somebody also wanted snap peas because we had been picking those out of the garden, and luckily I had some in the refrigerator. So we had pancakes, bacon, and snap peas because that's what they wanted. I do love that so many of the things that we do are around growing food and having food, and it's just the way that my kids are raised and now little ones are raised, and it's just something that was instilled in me from my grandparents too, to know that there's fruit harvest seasons and garden harvest seasons and when things are ready and when it's the best time to eat them. And I just love that these are things that we instill in our family members from when they're little all the way till they're big, and it's grown into our family legacy. For dinner, we made chicken teriyaki sandwiches. I had pulled out the chicken earlier, and then we have homemade teriyaki sauce. This I have a recipe for on the blog if you're looking for an allergy-friendly, soy-free recipe. So we had the teriyaki sandwiches with lettuce and pineapple and red onions on those, and Mike made them on the Blackstone, and then we had them in the house. And then I just pulled out some of the veggies out of the refrigerator that we had on a plate on the table, and everybody just picked what they wanted. So we had some extra people for dinner, and that's just how we did it. It didn't have to be fancy. It was chicken sandwiches and veggies, and it was really easy. On this day, we had our first grandparent sleepover. Now, we've slept over at their house a couple times, but this was the first time that they got to sleep at our house overnight. So keeping with those traditions that my grandpa used to do with us, we made ice cream, and that was so much fun. I made some coconut ice cream this time with the rest of the pineapple that we had left in it. So that was a fun little thing to make a memory together and make it with low sugar and allergy friendly for everybody that was here. After church on Sunday, I came home and took another nap. I can always tell when my pain levels are high when I am taking naps. And so I have probably taken a nap almost every other day in the last week or so because my pain levels are really high with my RSD. And then whatever is going on right there in my shoulder is just really wearing me out. So today is a good day. Yesterday, I didn't even get dressed. I had pulled some of that chicken Parmesan out of the freezer that I had made in the last video. And so I pulled that out of the freezer. I was planning on having it with protein pasta, but then our neighbor brought something over that I wanted to have instead. So we had the chicken parm, and then I just had it with a bunch of fresh green beans that I sauteed down with a little bit of balsamic glaze on them. And then we had salad on the side. So that's what we had for dinner because our neighbor brought us over some banana pudding. So I made the choice of wanting the banana pudding instead of wanting pasta on my plate. And then last night for dinner, because we're getting closer to the 4th of July, I thought it'd be fun to pull out those star pastas again. And so we had the protein pasta for dinner, and I made like a hamburger helper out of this, but I cooked the pasta in bone broth, and that way it's soaking up all the nutrients of having the homemade stock in there. And then I had some already cooked hamburger that had zucchini and onions already cooked into it that I added to the pot. I added some Greek yogurt in there to make it a little bit more creamy, and then a can of lima beans I added in there. So we had all the different components to make something, and then at the very end I topped it with some cheese. So this was perfect for dinner. It was exactly how much energy I had to want to spend in the kitchen, and we had this for not only for dinner, but we had it today for lunch too. And then today I filmed a podcast earlier, so I had to put makeup on. It's June 30th, and then I'm filming this video for you guys, but I also had a PT appointment today on June 30th, and they think that I have a torn rotator cuff. With everything that I'm telling them and how I'm showing them I can't do this and I can't do that, all the things, they think that I have a tear here in my shoulder. So I don't see my doctor until July 20th. I still have a couple weeks to wait. They gave me some exercises to make sure I don't end up with a frozen shoulder while I'm trying not to move my arm very much, but it does look like it's a tear and not just a strain or something. So please keep praying for me. This really, really hurts when I move it the wrong way just a little bit. It'll wake me up in the middle of the night. If I go to adjust my pillow, I'll wake up like just in shock that it's burning, and it hurts so bad. But it only hurts for like 10 to 30 seconds and then it goes away. But it's intense, sharp pain whenever I move this arm just wrong. So I appreciate all the prayers. I'm not sure exactly where this will go, if I'll have to have surgery. I'm not looking forward to it if I do have to have surgery. But I was telling my friend today, it would be great content talking about meal prepping and stuff before surgery. So we'll just kind of see what happens. But it really is pretty severe, and it's different than my reflective sympathetic dystrophy pain. So I know that it's not just nerve pain, there's something going on. So I just want to keep you guys updated on everything that's going on, and this is just part of my life. And so for dinner tonight, since we had those leftovers for lunch today, and I know I'm going to be super tired after I get done filming here today, I just pulled out some of those Costco croissants that I bought a couple months ago. I pulled 2 of those out. We're going to just have chicken salad sandwiches tonight on those croissants for dinner, and that is going to be super easy. We have some cherries that we need to keep on eating and some other fruit. So there'll be lots of different choices that we can have, but 0 dishes. So no messes in the kitchen tonight, and it will just be a nice night to be kind of done with the day. So make sure that you're checking out all the information in the description. We'll have any of the links that I mentioned on recipes that we already have on the blog. If I mention something that we don't have a recipe on the blog for yet and you would like me to make a video on it, like that sweet and sour shrimp stir fry, I would be happy to make a video if people are interested. So this video series is really where I listen to your feedback and see what things that you want me to film. I mention my book in every single video because the book is actually what pays for the team and pays for the editors. Besides being just a great book, it's actually what helps support the 𝐂𝐻𝐿 legacy. So we really appreciate each and every single purchase of this and your support for our channel and the Cross Legacy. But this is the Zero Waste Produce Guide, which goes through 75 fruits and vegetables, A to Z. There's also 40 recipes in this book. And then I also have my meal planners, which there's 5 different meal planners. This is where I keep track of all of those seasonal meals that I'm making. I make sure that I write down things that my family likes, and as we're making them, what's really great to have as a family meal later, or if it's a recipe that's so good we could have company over and have it again, like that tortellini sausage lemon pasta. Like, definitely writing that down with all the instructions in it so I remember it for next summer. But it's also where I keep track of things like how much I'm spending at the grocery store and what ingredients I have in my house. So between these two things, they can be life-changing if you're actually using them. They are linked in the description, and there is also a discount code. And with that, that is the end of the video. I will see you back in 2 weeks for the next one.